This is RoundHouse, featuring Grandmaster Dacascos and Grandmaster Ron Van Clief. Talking about the things that Grandmasters just don't want to talk about and giving you a seat at the table. This is your host, Sean Harflinger, and we will see you every Friday, every week. RoundHouse. Take the hit. This is RoundHouse, and today we are taking all the hits and talking with our host, Senior Grandmaster Dacascos and Grandmaster Ron Van Clief. We'd like to start first by welcoming you and thanking you for joining this time and joining this podcast with us. And I'd like to introduce our founding member, Senior Grandmaster Dacascos, famous martial artist with a famous legacy. Tell us a little bit, first, about yourself, and second, why the podcast?
All right. We're talking about the RoundHouse, and if you take a that, it's 360 degrees. And, the idea of starting off from someplace, you've got to start off from someplace, because as you look at the circle, there's really no end and no beginning. So when we begin to start talking, we got to be able to put where is my beginning and my ending, and I hope my ending never comes for a while. But anyway, RoundHouse is talking about, when I was born or where I grew up from and all of that stuff. Well, okay. I am 81 years old, or 81 years young. Whatever way is going to be comfortable with you. I was born in 1942. I mean, just right at the beginning of World War II. There's a lot of things that happened in my life. And using this RoundHouse is giving me a chance to take a look of how my life has been, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is something that I hope that for people, it might be able to inspire you into not making the mistakes that we've made, or using good examples to moving you forward. So the idea of coming up with this in here is been through a multitude of people, not just coming up by myself, as I've had guys like, Ron Van Clief and Sonny Pabayal and my son Mark, and people that along the way has said something that has inspired me to become who I am today. Now, as far as that, I think during the time that we go on our course, finding out who I am, why I started and so forth, it's going to be coming out. But to give you a real short, I started off with the martial arts at a very young age, not knowing that I was into martial arts. Living on the camp, which was called Camp 7 on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. Then it was called the Territory of Hawaii. I would watch in the morning around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. My grandfather and his crew, I would say, would practice in the courtyard, because my bedroom, I could look out into the courtyard and see the Filipinos practicing the Filipino martial arts. It can be Pongomat or Eskrima called, Kali. There's a lot of names. Never knew what it was. I just saw them practicing with blade knives and sticks and things this way. That was my introduction into the martial arts, probably as young as 5 or 6, 7 years old, watching that. Never knew what it was. I thought it was just a normal thing to do for everybody. I found out that, while it was a form of Filipino martial arts, but never knew what it was. Like people like on the mainland was playing basketball, or in Europe they're playing football, which was, some of the kids never knew that it was a sport. It was just sort of like a physical exercise. Well, that's where it went. So I went from that to judo, jiu-jitsu, and into kung fu and kempo karate, and here I am today, really mixed up kid. I don't know what I'm doing, but everything that comes out now, what I do in the martial arts, I would say that I learned the system, I learned the style, I learned the method, and now I have my own expression. I use it in that way to explain it. Later on, as we carry on, we're gonna do that. That's about all I can say for now. Carry on, Sean.
So we've got Senior Grandmaster Al Dacascos with, my goodness, 70 years experience in the martial arts, in the Filipino fighting arts, Kung Fu, Kajikembo. And one of the great reasons about having the three of us here is that you've got Senior Grandmaster Al Dacascos from Hawaii, from Kauai, way out in the middle of nowhere, the Pacific. And then you have Grandmaster Ron Ben Clief from the United States mainland with a completely different story. And I think we should invite him into the conversation and pick his brain. Welcome, Grandmaster Ron Ben Clief. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. One of the co-hosts of the show, The Black Dragon. My first questions to you are exactly the same as Al's. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, when did you start, and why the podcast?
Well, I started training martial arts in the 1950s, 1958 in Brooklyn, New York. I was training under Moses Powell and Ronald Duncan. These are two East Coast legends. One jiu-jitsu and the other one is ninjutsu. But I was bullied as a kid. My younger brother used to beat me up. So he's the one that really was my stimulus for joining martial arts. His name was Pete. He was killed in Vietnam in 1966. But he was one tough mother. He was really tough. Great athlete, basketball player, but street head, hustler, Got drafted in the Army, was in the Army 2 years, was in Vietnam 2 months before he was killed. And that's one reason why I will never quit martial arts. But, I started in jiu-jitsu and ninjutsu. I later on started training in Wing Chun. I studied Goju with Peter Urban. I've been training in martial arts for about 65 years now. I started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 13 years ago with Helson Gracie here in Hawaii. I moved here from St. Thomas. And I've been with it ever since. It's a great art. I mean, there's no art that has everything in it that's omnipotent, but I spent over 50 years doing stand-up martial arts. And when I fought in the UFC, when I was 51, I fought Host Gracie at UFC 4, I realized that my ground defense and offense was definitely negligent. So I decided that I would start studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I had the opportunity. I moved here to Hawaii in 2011. I met Helson and Ron Shiraki at Whole Foods. They told me they had a school, and I've been with them ever since. I started competing when I was 72 in Jiu-Jitsu. After 55 years of competing in karate competition. I retired at 60, 5-time world champion, 15-time world American, yada, yada. In 2022, Arnold Schwarzenegger inducted me into the International Sports Hall of Fame. Most of my martial arts training has been eclectic, you could say. Bruce Lee, I met him in the early 60s, in the mid 60s, and we used to smoke weed, and he got me interested in the Wing Chun system. This was before it became Jeet Kune Do. He introduced me to Leon Ting. I lived in Hong Kong 10 years. I trained with Leon Ting there. And
Wait. You lived in Hong Kong for 10 years?
Yes.
Wow. So that's a whole episode right there. What was it? Okay. When did you live in Hong Kong?
From 75 to 86.
And you were there with Bruce Lee, or?
I met him several times.
And you were training with people that were affiliated. Wow.
He introduced me to the Wing Chun people in Hong Kong. They had a main school on Nathan Road, And
Nathan Road in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Or okay, right on. Damn, that was
with Senior Grandmaster Leon Ting. He was a right-hand man of Viet Minh. He was the founder of Wing Chun.
what was that like in 19? You said 1975.
1975. Yeah.
1975, Hong Kong.
Spoke no Cantonese, nothing. I went there to make movies, and I really liked it there, and I thought that I had a future there in film and in martial arts because Leon Ting, God bless him, he was like an ambassador. He brought me to almost all of the great pioneers and legends in Hong Kong in
wow.
Kung Fu.
So you got to meet a bunch of good people down there.
It was amazing. The Monkey King, Chan Chow. This guy was like 4'7", but could jump 5 foot high. You know what I mean? It was like, is this real? But you know, I did 20 films in Hong Kong while I was there, and most of my work I did voiceovers for Chinese films that were being shipped to the United States.
Oh my God!
It was voiceovers.
Oh my God, that must have been. You know what? So you two guys are really lucky because you were in your primes during the American Kung Fu Revolution, right? During that martial arts revolution where
Golden Age.
Yeah, the golden ages, and everybody was making Kung Fu movies and everybody was doing stuff with Bruce Lee and smoking weed with people, punching stuff. The voiceover part must have been hilarious. Did you have fun doing the voiceover part?
Oh yes.
You could just overact like insanity.
I do 4 or 5 characters in each movie.
Yes.
So
oh my God. Can you still remember some of your characters? Can you give us a little piece right now of one of your characters?
Most
you on the spot
that I did, right? I was reading off like a teleprompter and adding my own inflection and language changes within them. But I played a lot of bad guys. I even played little kids. Hey, don't! Would you do it to me, please? I know Kung Fu.
It must have been a riot.
So I did so much of that stuff. It was hilarious. I mean, the 5 Fingers of Death, I did some voiceovers in that film.
Man, 5 Fingers of Death, voiceovers. Do you still do voiceover work now, still today?
You know, I'm getting ready to do a complete feature, animated feature. I've been working for the past 4 or 5 years on an animated feature that I'm co-producing and starring in. It's called The Tao of the Black Dragon.
The Tao of the Black Dragon. I think I've seen the trailer for that. It looks good.
We have the trailer, we have the website. We're about 70% finished now, but for the past 3 months, I've been doing the voiceovers of my own voice for my character.
Oh, for the main character.
It's like a black James Bond. I've got a black dragon mobile, which is a Lamborghini.
What did you just
flies
say?
And goes under the water.
A black dragon mobile.
Black Dragon Mobile, like the Batmobile.
Nice. And you said it's like a Lamborghini. I think
it's
I saw it.
And goes underwater. It's really cool. All kinds of laser weapons. You know.
You know, one of the great, speaking of automobiles, one of the great vehicles that martial artists of your caliber and the caliber of Senior Grandmaster Dacascos is that you guys get picked up for movie productions left and right. Yeah, because I think both of you have had a good time in Hollywood. Al, your son is a famous movie star in Hollywood, but correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you work with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Was that you? Were you affiliated with that movie, or what movie were you affiliated with, if not several? Key me in on that, Al.
Are you talking about me?
You, yeah.
Yeah, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. I don't know whether it's number 3 or what. That we did. We did that in the West Coast in Oregon, Oceanside. You know, we did that.
You
that
filmed
was
the Turtles movie in Oceanside, Oregon?
Yeah, up north, close. Yeah, between. Yeah, because they a lot of caves and mountain there. That's where I got injured, during the battle. Real injured, where we were fighting in the field, and I was in this samurai suit fighting, and this guy was going. He excuse me. He was supposed to go straight on past me by about 4 or 5 feet. But he had so much smoke coming inside that the horse rammed into me, and then panicked and started stomping on me. I ended up in the hospital, with a cracked rib and everything, almost near-death experience, But yeah, it was fun afterwards. So yeah, one of the good and bad things.
You got stomped by a horse, ridden by a samurai, as you were dressed as a samurai.
Yeah.
In a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle samurai.
Yeah.
Battle. Okay. I had to get that straight.
Yeah, it was the good samurais against the bad samurais.
So that must have been the one where they went back in time. Okay, I had to mentally recoup
I was one of the good samurais.
4 of those, right?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I think they did 4 of those.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a very popular franchise.
Yeah, they're doing it again.
So the first one was the introduction. The second one, I think they went back in time, right? Or is it the third one? I don't know. Now I have to go watch the Turtle movies again to get up in speed. Is there a certain samurai that we should be looking for that's you, besides the one that's underneath the horse getting stomped on?
Well, the Turtles were all samurais,
No, I mean you in the kind. That's Al Dacascos right there. That samurai is Al Dacascos. Is there?
I didn't think they shot it, but probably kept it out. I have no idea on it, So I don't know whether they clipped it or what.
Some editor,
but,
editor somewhere has a clip of you being stomped by a horse. You didn't get anything out of that, did you? You weren't able to sue any horse riders or anything?
No. They compensated me, because I was in the hospital a couple of days, and then off work for a couple of weeks, and then right back onto the shoot again.
I think one of the episodes that we have to have is weird ass injuries you two have endured, because through our conversations we have discussed some weird ass injuries. Just off the top of my head, Ron Van Clief had his eyeball ripped out. Right? So that was a story. So we're going to have to follow back and go back and talk about famous injuries by grandmasters in their lives. Excuse me. What I'd like to...
There's always lots of accidents on the set, though, Sean.
Right.
I got bit by a snake making the Black Dragon's Revenge in Hong Kong.
What kind of snake?
It wasn't poisonous.
Just a big ass snake? Was it a big ass snake?
Yeah. The villain's girlfriend was a snake woman. She had snakes around her neck and stuff all the way through the movie. So she's taunting me with the snake, and it actually bit me on my arm. I was so pissed off.
I'd be pissed too, getting bit by a freaking snake. Did they run and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry"?
Of course.
Of course they did. Okay, so they treated you like royalty when you were over there doing Chinese films?
I was just treated like a regular guy. I was what they call a hot guy, a black ghost. So when you're in that category, everything you do is a test.
A black ghost.
Yes.
What did you call that again? A pot pie?
Hot guy.
Hot kwai.
Guai Lo is white ghost. Hot guai is black ghost. The Chinese believe that everybody else that's not Chinese is dead already. That's why we are ghosts.
Wow.
I've never heard that in my entire existence.
Oh,
did not know that I was a walking spirit.
You are a hot guai.
I'm a hot guy.
I'm a hot guai. You're a guai lo.
Oh, I'm the guai lo.
Yeah.
Sweet lo. Okay.
So what do we call us? So Ron, what do they call the brown people?
They call them all hot guai.
Wait. So wait. That's a great question. Because
hot guai.
Do Filipinos get a pass?
No, they're hot guai also.
Oh, they're also hot guai. I see. Did you hear that, Al? Chinese.
Yeah, they only know black and white.
We're all
Yeah,
dead.
only black and white. Right? Outside of Chinese.
That's interesting. So wait, you said you were being tested. What is an example of a test?
The director, the first film I made, he says, "Can you do a front kick?" Holy shit. I had already been training in the martial arts 20 years.
Right.
Do you know a front kick? Do you know a round kick? Can you do a side kick?
Oh, I see.
They blew me away. Stuntman actually challenged me on the set of my first film, The Black Dragon. Really.
Right. So did you have fun with that?
I actually had fun doing that because I didn't want to hurt them,
Because you were in, okay, so there's a picture behind you for people that are watching the podcast. For people that are listening, there is a picture behind Grandmaster Ron Van Clief of a very ripped, buff, muscular, commando-looking dude. And so that was the buff, commando-looking dude that was in the Kung Fu movies as well. And so you had stuntmen challenge this big commando-looking guy.
This picture is from 1994.
The UFC days.
When I fought Royce Gracie at UFC 4.
That's a whole nother episode. All right, so the directors, the stuntmen, because you were the hot kwai.
They thought I was an actor, that I didn't really have any experience.
Oh, they didn't understand. I see. Yeah. Oh, was it full contact?
Every film. Oh boy, in The Black Dragon, I knocked out a stunt guy with a back kick in the face. And I felt so bad,
I felt so bad.
He was only 130 pounds, but he was very disrespectful,
Well, in the martial arts, that's one of the ways that you defend your honor and you compromise on differences, right? Is through sparring and the friendship of the fist. Right? Good for you. Good for him. That's a good memory. Right?
I actually have that on videotape.
You have that on videotape. All right. Well, once you
he's stepping on this guy's forehead while he's on the ground.
I need to see that. We need to share that for the audience. This is the video clip of Ron Van Clief stepping on the stuntman's head, whom disrespected him while filming the movie in Hong Kong. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Ha
He became my student.
See, that's the way. That's how you get students. Is you pummel them. That's the best way. Actually, when I had my school open, that was the best way to get students. Is I would actually bring the mat out into the parking lot so everybody could see. You know what I mean? And I would do demonstrations, and that's how you would get people in the door.
Sure.
That was great. So this is working out perfectly. RoundHouse and the podcast to which we are engaged is doing exactly what we wanted it to do, and that was share amazing stories from two amazing men. We're not even done yet, right? We still got to talk about how do you see the world? What are some of your accomplishments? We've only scratched the surface. We've got about 180 episodes locked down and ready to go because these two gentlemen have lived a very, 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 very full life when it comes to the martial arts and just,
I'm trying to catch up to Al.
No way.
Right?
No, I'm trying to catch up to you.
I guess I'll move over and I'll ask Al, what are some of your biggest accomplishments as a martial artist? Now, I can fill in some of the blanks. You've had hundreds of schools worldwide. You've had hundreds of championships. You've had famous students, but personally, when you gauge your accomplishments as a martial artist, what are the top 3 accomplishments that Senior Grandmaster Al Dacascos personally takes credit? What are your proudest moments, those accomplishments, Al?
Well, number one is that my greatest accomplishment is, number one, I would say this, it's just that I thank God for blessing me with having great children, like my son Mark and my daughter Jaden and Vanessa and Benjamin. These are gifts from God, and that is an accomplishment in itself to see them growing up into an area where they're becoming accomplished people in themselves. Because, you know, sometimes I kind of sit back and say, well, you know, my son Mark went to where I wanted to go but couldn't do, or because I was raising a family, you know. And he took it and just went for it. So I was really, really proud of that. And to see them successful, it's like accomplishment of keeping them above. What I meant was just that during the time that, you know, Mark came along, living in Hawaii, there was a lot of things that were going on, and a lot of the kids that were growing up at that time, they either went to college or ended up in jail, you know, and because of the area we lived in. So to see that, you know, I see my son, you know, like on a silver screen, is better than seeing him behind bars, you know. So
Yes.
the accomplishment is like, wow, thank God that, you know, he gave me the gift of having my children succeed, you know. That is number one. Number two is that the accomplishment is that I can turn around and take a look at what I did, and then my mom and dad can say, well, that's their accomplishment of having me brought up into an area where I can go forward. I don't think anybody's in this world that came into this world to fail. We come into this world to be successful and to carry on a legacy with a family and with our beliefs and our country, you know. And as far as my third, you know, as far as accomplishments, personal accomplishments, there's so many that it's almost hard to say what comes before the other, because in this certain period of time, I might feel like, wow, this is my greatest accomplishment. But 20 years ago, you know, my accomplishments were different, you know. And then Ron and I talked. I said, okay, we got maybe another 100 and maybe another 10, 20 years more. Then within that time, the accomplishments that I feel today is going to be outshined by the accomplishments that we're going to be making in the future.
For sure.
The objective is just that on that one there, I can say that my accomplishment is to be better today than I was yesterday, and then for next is to be better tomorrow than I am today. So this can go all over the place. I can't say exactly what is. My accomplishment is this. My greatest accomplishment is this, and I thank God every day. As I get up in the morning and start feeling my body, I say, man, I'm still here. Because the funny thing about it is, as soon as you start passing sick kid's birthday, people are calling you up and say, hey, guess what? Did you know this certain passed away? And then you figure your numbers are going up. I say, well, you know, I don't want my numbers to go up. I want to stay a little bit more because there's so much accomplishment. But the thing is just that getting up in the morning, knowing that I have breath, you know, thank God on that. It's just that that's what it is, to accomplish one day at a time. So, you know, like I say, there's 2 times that you look yourself in the mirror. In the morning when you brush your teeth, and at night when you go to bed, you say, man, I'm still alive. Am I going to get up tomorrow? So that's an accomplishment going for 24 hours, you know. So this morning I got up and said, okay, we're going to be doing this interview. I said, that's an accomplishment because I'm here doing it, you see. Otherwise, you know, somebody will call you up and say, hey, Sean, somebody's gone, he's not here. But I am, and that's an accomplishment.
So you would say perseverance is one of your accomplishments. Yeah, your tenacity for life. Yeah, his zeal for life, and you know, your aptitude. I think that's the thing, is that you explained that I still have faith in my continued aptitude, and so I want to, you know, learn as much as I can and become better. And so you see continued knowledge and the embetterment of your life as an accomplishment. So that's pretty badass. Honestly, that's what you want to teach the youngins. Yeah, which is one of the many motivations of this podcast, is to bring your message and Ron's message up to the forefront, because after all, you've got all this life experience. You are 2 masters in the world with experience that you should be sharing with people. And so I'm going to head over to this other table over here where Ron Van Clief is seated, and I'm going to ask him, Ron, if you were to give us 3 accomplishments in your life, your personal accomplishments, what you think, this is what I really hold high, not the rest of us, because the rest of us have our ideas, but what are your top 3 accomplishments, Ron?
I would say my biggest accomplishment is to be still alive at 80. I was lynched in North Carolina when I was in my 20s in 1963. And so at that point, my life ended. The person that I was then, I am no longer that person. Surviving that physically, I was able to do. But mentally, I think that experience and then going to Vietnam after that, those 2 experiences were
transformative
and so important to the person that I have become. I've become resilient. When I was in the Marine Corps, Semper Fi, right?
Semper Fi.
I went to the Marine Corps in 1960. I thought my name was Nigger, Coon, Darky, Spook.
Oh.
That's what I thought my name was, because all the way through boot camp, they never called me Private Van Cleef or anything. It was always Shitbird or Nigger. So I came from Brooklyn, New York. Everybody was there: Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Spanish, Filipinos, everybody. So when I went to South Carolina in 1960, I did realize that racism did exist. And, imagine being a Marine and having to go to places where they didn't serve no colors, white only, that kind of stuff. That was some heavy shit, It was really heavy. Because I joined the Marine Corps. I was born to join the Marine Corps. I trained from when I was like 12 years old, weights and all kinds of stuff, martial arts at 15, to be able to go into the Marine Corps. I jumped from the fire, which my father was very abusive, into the frying pan, which was Parris Island, South Carolina. Wow. There were like 4 black guys in my platoon. We took a lot of shit. They used to pour dirt down our rifle bores so we'd fail the inspections. They would do all kinds of shit, blanket parties. You know what a blanket party is?
Yes, I do. We were still having those when I was in the Marines. They hadn't cut them out yet.
I had a few of those, yeah. So
that whole thing is fucked up. Every time we talk about this story, I can't even fathom. Marines are one color. We're all green.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't, it just breaks my fucking heart, because I don't even understand where the fuck, because once you're a Marine, you're in already, right? So
you're in. You're supposed to be in.
So what fucking color are you talking about? So I can't, my brain actually fucking breaks, right? Because where the fuck does that even imply faith in always being faithful?
So that made me really almost addicted to martial arts, because I wanted to be better.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that no one ever beat me again. I wanted to make sure I was like almost invincible. I competed in 900 tournaments over 55 years of competition.
900 tournaments in over 55 years of competition. Holy
and then
shit.
After I finished competition at 60, I started competing again in jiu-jitsu at 72. Al has come to see me compete a couple of times.
Okay, so one of your biggest accomplishments is surviving that whole shitstorm of being lynched and fucked with by your own fellow brothers, in arms. Which is a terrible story. And we're gonna, believe me, everybody, we are going to devote an entire episode or 2 just on these crazy stories, because it's the topic of the book that Ron has written long ago called A Hung Man, which is a story of him being lynched in the 60s and surviving that, and everybody that was involved and whatnot. So we do need to devote some time, not only because it's an amazing story, but I think people today need to hear it.
The documentary I produced, The Hangman, is on Netflix and Tubi and all of those streaming services now.
A Hanged Man is on
Hanged Man.
Netflix and Tubi, and you can watch it. You can stream it. It's online. There's also the book, but we need to talk about it. It's a heart-wrenching story. I've been lucky enough, I think, to hear it.
I'm still alive. We're still here. We're still kicking right out.
Right.
And that's
absolutely.
the accomplishment. That's the accomplishment. So number one accomplishment is, holy shit, I survived that. Number two accomplishment was what again, Ron?
I survived Vietnam.
You survived Vietnam. Well, there you go. Right? Thank you for doing that.
When I was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps, I became a policeman in New York.
Okay, so you've got,
From
I survived.
1965 to 1969, I was a New York City Transit Police Department police officer.
Wow.
That's a whole nother episode.
That was, wow.
What is, okay, right off the top of your head, what's the craziest shit you saw as a New York City Transit Police officer? Craziest thing, bar none.
I ran up behind this guy who was pissing on the subway, so I had to write him a ticket. Right? He turns around and he cuts me with a straight razor on my forearm. Through my jacket. Yeah.
Holy shit.
This guy cuts me and he starts running down the platform. Of course, I shoot him.
Oh, you shot him. So it went from friggin' Dangle to Django.
Can you imagine? I shoot this fucking guy. They take me off, they take my shield, they take my gun, they do all that shit. I go up before a review board, all of this fucking stuff, and it was a justifiable shooting.
Did he die?
No, he didn't die.
Where'd you shoot him?
I shot him in his right shoulder.
Damn it, that's definitely a butt shot. You could have shot him right in the ass. No. How bad was the cut? How many stitches? Did you get stitches from it?
Yes.
Damn.
9 stitches on my forearm.
What fucking A, just some random guy pissing with a straight blade.
Can you imagine?
I can't.
Why would you take the chance of being shot
or cutting your own dick off?
For a $35 ticket for urinating in public, right?
Fucking crazy. All right, so there's your hot one. You got sliced by a dude and you had to shoot him, and then they took your badge. It's like a regular movie. Get in here.
I was suspended for, I think, like 6 months.
While they did the investigation.
And then I got paid for that time off.
Oh, well, that must have been, what did you do? Besides...
I went to an undercover pickpocket division. Those are some stories.
Oh!
Amazing pickpockets on 42nd Street, Times Square, that's their station. There was 40 guys down there that could pick your pocket while they were talking to you.
So you're telling me in Times Square, there's dozens of pickpockets just mingling in the crowd?
Oh, yeah, in the subway? Are you kidding?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I quit the police department because I went to the precinct one day and there were 8 or 9 white cops, right? Stomping on this Puerto Rican guy who was handcuffed to a radiator, ankle and wrist handcuffed, and they were beating him with nightsticks and stomping him. And they got pissed off at me because I didn't want to join them.
Right, because you didn't want to cross the line. Yeah.
Sean, the next day I resigned because I was then a shitbird. They were going to kill me or let me get killed.
Right. Well, thank you for honoring your ethos.
It's funny. Lou Alcenda's father was my precinct captain.
Who?
Lou Alcenda's father was my precinct captain.
Oh, wow.
You know Lou Alcenda?
No, remind me.
Basketball player.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
His father was my precinct captain.
And what did he say when you retired? He said, I'm retiring because these guys are a bunch of crooked fuckers?
No, he gave me a complaint for having too long a hair.
You had too long of hair.
Yeah, too long a hair. I was a hippie. I was living in the East Village at the time. Hanging out with Jimi Hendrix and all these fucking guys, smoking.
Wait. So I'm trying to now paint this picture of a hippie cop handing out tickets.
Acid-taking hippie cop.
Acid-taking hippie cop. What year?
Who went to Woodstock.
An acid-taking hippie cop who went to Woodstock. If they say your hair was too long, are you implying that you had an afro?
Yes.
There we go.
Afro.
So now the picture is now coming clearer. Now we've got
put like a stocking cap.
Afro.
I put like a stocking cap kind of thing on my head so I could put my hat on because it would go.
What a fun life you've had. You know what I mean? How much fun would that
He was
be
a
to
real
run
dick,
around
though.
as a cop
He
with an
was
afro?
a real dick.
He was a dick to you.
Oh man.
He was just trying to get you out because you didn't want to pay.
Irish pennant. He busted me for an Irish pennant. You know, a little piece of string hanging off my shirt.
Yeah. Wow. Well, maybe you dodged a bullet because who knows, right? When you get a target on your back like that, sometimes those targets take you out. So you probably dodged a bullet.
He passed away a long time ago. He got his karma. But he was a very difficult man. I can understand why Lou said that that childhood wasn't good with him, that it was too domineering, you know?
Right. So you guys have these stories. When did this happen?
65 to 69.
Wow. You know, the world is completely different. So I think that's the beauty of this podcast is we've got these two masters who are up and running and lucid and smart and able to tell these stories from 1965. I can tell you right now, I'm 50, which is young compared to you youngins, but Gen X grew up listening to all your stories. And one of the disconnects that I see happening today is that the millennials and Gen Z and younger, I don't think they hear enough stories.
They don't know.
Yeah, from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Yeah. So one of the things I think we can cover in this podcast is just you guys saying, hey, Puerto Rican was handcuffed to a fucking radiator, getting the shit kicked out of him in 1965. And my ass was
in the precinct.
And I had an afro, and there was probably LSD in my system still.
I'm positive there was.
And I said, fuck this. See, there's a different world now. It's 2024. 1964 is a completely different picture. I'd like to skip over to Al real quick. Al, it's 1964, and where the hell are you? Where are you at 1964?
1964, I was still in Hawaii, and that's the year that Mark was born. You know,
Mark Dacascos was born in 1964.
64, yeah.
Okay.
And at that time, I was just turned 21 or maybe 22 years. I can't recall, but yeah, that was a weird day because when Mark was born on February 26, 64, you know, at that particular time, you know, we were going in Waikiki. We were just going from bar to bar because what I had was that I wanted to try 7-7, you know, you know what that is, right? 7-Up and so forth. And I go from bar to bar. I couldn't even make it to the third one, but I was already drunk. And the reason why I did that was because Mark was still in what they call in the hospital. I had just come from the hospital, you know. I was really happy that he was born. And so one of my students and I, you know, he was a white belt. His name was Dacascos. We were celebrating and going and walking on the streets in Waikiki, and then there was these two sailors. You know, they were in civilian uniform. They were leaning on my car. At that time, I had a 1957 Fury, Dodge Fury. They were leaning on the front part of my car and bending my antenna, and they were bending my antenna. So I walk up to him and say, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "Man, that's my car I got away from." And all of a sudden, just jumping around like a boxer, you know. I mean, everything I said. And my student Doug, I says, "Oh boy, looks like we're going to get into trouble right then." You know, Doug was only about let's see, about a month into the martial arts. You see, so what happened?
So you had a white belt with you.
Yeah.
You have a brand new white belt.
Yeah. So here I am, you know, we got two guys over here, and he stands up and both of us go, you know, getting ready to fight this guy, but then he sits down, you know. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, you're a black belt, I'm just a white belt," you know. So here I am facing these two guys, and being that you're not fully aware, you kind of drunk, you know what I mean? So we bounce around, we throw a couple of punches, and I decided I'm going to do a straight front kick to his groin. Okay, and I went and I threw that straight front kick to the groin, but he stepped aside. You see, the thing is, in my mind, I was doing it really, really fast, but my leg was just flying at only 10%. You see what I mean? And he stepped to the side and bam, he hit me, and I land up on the side of my car by the wheel. And I asked Doug, I said, Doug, go get him. He said, no. What he did to you, I'm not going to stand up. You know what I mean? so I had a cut lip, which I still have today, the scar on my lip, and so they kind of took off because the crowd was coming by, and it was really, really embarrassing. I never went back and told any of my instructors that, I got my ass kicked at that time there. But, after that, this is when I decided, okay, now when I go out, no drinking, because I don't know what's going to happen. So that one was a good lesson to learn, because you needed somebody else to really, because, when you're at that age, and you're a black belt, a new black belt, although you're supposed to keep, yes, you think you are, until you face a guy that's really a good boxer, and when you throw your kick and he moves at 10% and he steps to the side and deck you, then you figure, man, you know nothing. Yeah, that was that's one of the greatest lessons I had. It humbled me real quick.
Especially with the title, right? Especially with the title. I made the same mistake in White and I was drinking and I got a little too drunk and I went to go get a tattoo for some reason. But when I got there, the tattoo parlor was closed. And so somebody in the parking lot said something to me. Next thing you know, we're fighting, and I was a little too rough on an arm bar, and his friend totally false cracked me right in the face, and I woke up real quick, like, oh shit. Yeah, whoops, I'm sorry. And I talked my way and de-escalated out of that fight. But yeah, it was a big wake-up call when somebody hits you in the face and you're drunk, and you're supposed to be a kung fu person, right?
Hey,
I was embarrassed.
Sean, we need to know something about you also.
What? Me?
I think that
okay, well,
we're the Three Musketeers here, man.
Okay, the Three Musketeers. Well, I'm the creamiest of the Musketeers, if you want to talk about the Musketeers. Let me see. I'm a regular old creative guy. I mentioned earlier, I'm 50. The whole reason I'm involved with Al and Ron is I am one of Grandmaster Al Dacascos' students. I've been around in Kaji Kimbo and One Hop Kendo for nearly 30 years now. I'm nothing special, just a regular old guy training. I get fat and I get lazy and then I get thin again and I get back into shape, and that's pretty much been the roller coaster of my life within the martial arts. But that's why I'm a lifelong martial artist, because the martial arts is a skill set that allows me to heal myself from all my dumb mistakes, right? So I use the martial arts to teach myself discipline over and over and over again. Yes. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a creative. I'm a writer. You can catch me all over the place at Midlife Virus. Yeah. Oh, I'm a former Marine. That's how.
There's no such thing as a former Marine.
I'm always a Marine. You're right. I'm always a Marine. Look at that. I'm 50. Ron is 81. Still schooling this young Marine. I think one of the cool things about the Marines is that we can actually do that, right? I often talk about how ideas will outlast people, right? Ideas,
for sure.
Ideas are the thing. And so that's one of the great things about the core, is that you've got this brotherhood when done right? You've got this brotherhood that lasts forever. Yeah. It's great. I love it when my kids get to witness that in person, right? You'll be out in the middle of nowhere. You'll meet some random Marine. You know what I mean? Semper Fi. Next thing you know, you got some dude that you've never met. Hey, rah, 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 rah. My kids, every time it blows their mind. What is that? Oh, that's just a thing. It's a thing. Semper Fi. Semper Fi. It's called solidarity because we all get like slapped and kicked and pissed on and stuff through boot camp, and we go through all this weird shit together. right? And you don't have anyone to talk to but each other. So we build this camaraderie. Yeah. So I tell my
took
kids,
some beatings in boot camp.
right?
The
I
drill
can't,
instructors were
you know,
unmerciful.
here's the funny thing. The things that happened to me in boot camp apparently were illegal. I didn't even know that. I thought that it was totally legal to like get pissed on and do all kinds of weird shit. And
Me
then
too.
later, yeah, then later on, my friends that are still in the Marines are like, Sean, that was illegal. I'm like, huh? Oh, I thought they were just toughening me up. You know what I mean? They're just getting me prepared for uncomfortable positions, predictions. Anyway, so yeah, I wasn't a Marine very long. I was in for about 4 years. And then when it was time to re-enlist, I kind of saw the way that the government was switching over. This was the early 90s. And so the politically correct messengers were starting to land. And so I was looking at my career in the Marine Corps, looking forward and going, I don't know. I see a setup. I know that sounds terrible, but now what we know about the armed forces today in 2024, I think I might have been right. I think my intuition kind of saw what was, what might have happened if I would have stayed in. Plus, my mental health has come in to focus, and it was probably a good idea that I got out when I did.
Me too.
Very responsible for me to go, you know what? I should probably deal with this. So one thing that Ron and I have in common is that we both were brought up in domestic violence and all kinds of weird shit storms and stuff. And so solidarity between him and I is strong in that. And
PTSD brothers.
Right. And then my relationship with Al is super tight. So what happened is that synergy popped up into this podcast. Right. And so the three of us are going to talk about weird stuff. We're going to talk about memory. Going to talk about, here's where I fit in. If anyone's asking, I am the Gen X representative here. So I am, I get to sit here and say, hey, you know what? I do remember black and white TV. And I remember before the world kind of went back ass and kooky, because, Gen X is probably one of the last generations before they started changing the education system and all the, you know what I mean? Before it was just easy peasy arithmetic and English and science and, typing. There wasn't a lot of politically motivated.
They had shop classes. They had electric
classes, right? Yeah, woodworking.
When I was going to school.
Same here. No, same here. They started phasing all that stuff out as they approached 2000. But in the early 90s, all that stuff was still around. I graduated high school in 92. I wasn't even born when you were in the Marines. I was born in 1974, gentlemen. Right? You had a whole life before I even showed up. But
born the same year as my son.
Right? Yeah. No, I think that's the fun thing about this show is that we have generational perceptions and things that we can talk about. And you're gonna hear those questions come out of me a lot. Hey, you said you were a hippie with an afro. Do hippies, and I asked you this the other day, do hippies of your era look like the hippies of today?
No.
They don't. See, that's a really important answer for everyone to meditate on, because you're like, wait a second, the hippies don't look like the hippies. So does that mean the hippies that are hippies today, are they really hippies?
I don't think so.
I don't think they're hippies. Yeah. From what I recollect, hippies didn't want any conflict, right? They were flickless hippies.
Tie-dye t-shirts, bell-bottom blue jeans, and mescaline and acid in your body.
And acid. Earlier, you had mentioned you went to Woodstock. Okay, so I wasn't even around.
I went to Woodstock with Richie Havens.
Richie Havens.
Yes.
Who is that?
He's a folk singer.
See, this is the important part of having
a really famous one.
A really famous folk singer.
You probably know him from the coffee commercials that he did. But
it's good into the fucking cup.
Yeah,
he did that?
Yeah.
He did the Folgers stuff? I just slaughtered that commercial.
Used to donate $1 million a year to save the whales. That's how much of a hippie he was.
Fuck.
He introduced me to Mick Jagger. He introduced me to Bianca, Mick's wife. Jimi Hendrix. So my question goes back to the hippies of yorn. If they didn't look like the hippies today, what would you say as a former hippie? Or wait, are hippies, are they forever as well? I believe hippies are
forever.
Just that's who they are, and they'll be that forever.
So if you were going to
Not
give
just the
some,
way they dress, it's the way they think.
right. So if you were going to give some hippie advice to the people that are claiming the mantle of hippie today, what would you tell them?
Well, freedom of speech is an important thing.
It's important, right, of hippiedom.
It's so important, and it seems to be so much politically correct bullshit and Me Too-ism, and I don't want to get political, but I was not a political person when I lived in the village with the hippies.
Right. You know what you can?
Everybody.
Do you know what you can get? You can get critical. You don't have to get political, but you can get critical. That's what I call it, where you just simplify life and say, all right, here, let's just get some common denominators. Rape is evil, right? Let's get critical instead of political. Why don't we just agree on all the shit that's fucked up and check those off and see? Because when you get critical and you're not political, guess what happens? You end up agreeing on a lot of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, hey, do you like $7 a fucking, gallon gas? You don't. Neither do I. Do you like all this weird racist shit that's going on? Oh, neither do I. It's fucking yes. Yeah, critical is way better than political. Political right now is a hack. It's a fucking hack. Exactly. Yeah, it's not even a real game. It's fucking Monopoly. It's just not even real. Because
it's not even real.
Because you'll ask somebody flat out. So here's a really good example. With the Israeli-Palestine conflict right now, out of nowhere, Nazi symbolism is showing up. And you're like, what the hell is Nazi symbolism doing here? Just so everybody knows, this is a critical fact. The Nazis not only killed a lot of Jews, but they killed people of color. They killed their political opponents. They killed homosexuals. They killed people with mental health. So so I would be dead. They would have, fuck this fucking guy. Yeah, they killed anyone that they defined as not worthy.
Dissidents.
Yeah, so dissidents, exactly. So I think it's funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's fucking terrifying that we see the swastika running around and people not even equivocating what that symbolism did to the world and why we had 2 world wars.
Yeah.
Right? And you guys are products, right? The silent generation, your parents came back from where? What was the big thing that your parents, it's the silent generation, then the boomers, then Gen X, right? Or wait, is it the greatest generation? How does that work? I've
forgotten.
We were just looking at this, Al.
Yeah, I know.
Just looking at this a couple weeks ago because it's
greatest generation, silent generation, baby boomers, Gen X. Then we have the millenniums, and then Gen Z, and then they had Generation Alpha, which is
that's the youngest ones.
Yeah.
All right. So the silent generation, then the greatest generation, and so it was your parents. When were you born, Ron?
1943.
And Al was born in 1942. Okay, so that was World War II.
Yeah.
Right? So then So then when everybody got done with World War II, they came back. Hence that generation is called the baby boomers. There was a boom of babies. All right, cool. All right. The only reason I want to bring that into reference is so we can all realize, what's the time shift and what's going on and where are these conversations coming from? Whew, crazy. We have been at it for about an hour, gentlemen.
Really?
Right. Yeah. We started talking. We were talking story for a little bit, doing the pre-production meeting, and then we went right into it. I've been slowly looking at the timer. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Is an hour enough, or do you want 2 hours, 3 hours, 4-hour discussion? I think an hour is pretty good. If anybody if anybody needs more, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get more next week. Every Monday we do the show, we edit, and we release it on Fridays, maybe even earlier. So if you are looking for good content with RoundHouse Podcast, Senior Grandmaster Al Dacascos and Grandmaster Ron Van Clief, you can find it here at RoundHouse. Our next episode, now that we've done our introductions, our next episodes, we're going to get deep into the weeds. We're going to talk to Al Dacascos and listen to his life even more than we did today, and We're going to jump right into it with Ron Van Clief and get a little bit more detail on some of these horrendous things that he talked about earlier and some of these accomplishments he didn't get to mention today. If you want to check out the podcast, you can find it on Buzzsprout, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere that podcasts can be found. The podcast will be found there. You can also visit RoundHouse on YouTube at RoundHouse. This is RoundHouse, featuring Grandmaster Dacascos and Grandmaster Ron Van Clief. Talking about the things that Grandmasters just don't want to talk about and giving you a seat at the table. This is your host, Sean Harflinger, and we will see you every Friday, every week. RoundHouse. Take the hit. And now a word from our sponsors. Funky Puppy Productions. If you need a production done, Funky Puppy Productions can do it for you. Visit us at funkypuppyproductions.com.
Aloha, I'm Senior Grandmaster Dacascos. I'd like to invite you to join us to get to know the International Kajukenbo Association. The IKA is a worldwide organization that champions integrity, knowledge, and accountability. Unity is our mission. Join us.
Caring for Mothers. MalamaYourMama.com. Malama Your Mama is an organization that is all about caring for mothers. To malama is to care. And one of the greatest gifts that we can give our mothers and new mothers is that support system that they so desperately need. Together, we can teach the world to malama our mamas, just like our mamas have malamaed us. We want to dedicate this organization and its proceeds to all the strong mothers out there that have honored us. We want to steward healthy mothers and to raise mothers up. Together, we can malama our mamas. Caring for mothers. Help us by visiting malamayourmama.com and supporting our cause. Mahalo.